There's a very specific kind of moment that brings people into my work. And it's not usually when things are clear or moving well. It's when something no longer fits, but you don't yet know what comes next. My name's Claire from Claire Harris Coaching, and I work with women at a threshold, at a point in their life where there is change or there needs to be change. So, the threshold work that I do came from my own experience of moving through periods like that, where something in my life had become unsustainable, like ways of working, ways of being, ways of relating. It can be big things like breakdowns of relationships or life choices, or small ways of, I'm no longer going to accept this behavior from other people. There isn't always a clear path forward. And what I noticed was that most of the guidance out there was trying to move me out of the space quickly, fix it, decide it, move on. But that didn't match with the reality of what I was in, because I wasn't at a decision point, I was in a process. So I started to understand this as something I now call a threshold. A threshold is a passage where an old way of being is no longer viable and a new way hasn't fully formed yet. And that space in between is often misunderstood. It can feel like confusion, stuckness, emotional intensity, or even like you're going backwards. But you're not. You're in a transition that has its own structure. What I began to see in myself and in the women I work with is that thresholds tend to move through recognizable phases. There is often a crumble where something that used to work starts to break down. There is an edge where you can feel that something needs to change, but it's not clear what or how. There is a descent, which can feel like being in the unknown. This is usually the most disorientating part because the old identity is loosening, but the new one hasn't and isn't stable yet. Then gradually things begin to reorganize. There's integration, where things start to make sense in a new way, and then emergence, where a new way of becoming feels more solid and visible. Alongside these five phases, there's something else I noticed. We don't go through painful moments, wounds, patterns, beliefs once. We go through them multiple times. And this is what I call the spiral. Similar themes come back at different levels. Earlier, something might feel intense and emotional and debilitating. Later, on the next turn, it feels a little bit quieter, so subtle. Or maybe you can look at it a different way. But each time you go round the spiral, you look at that one wound or message or belief, whatever it is, and it feels a little bit more distant and you feel a little bit more healed from it. So this spiral is not regression. It feels like it, that why do I keep coming round to this same thing? It's actually a deeper integration. The work that I do isn't about pushing you forward or helping you figure it out as quickly as possible. It's about helping you locate where you are in the five phases, understanding what's actually happening underneath the surface, and supporting you to move through it with clarity and steadiness. Because when you can see where you are, there is often relief. Things start to make sense. And when you feel like you're in a process and that there are defined stages, you can breathe again and know, okay, I'm in this phase and I still have two more to go and I'm working through this. It just gives you the relief. This framework, my threshold and spiral, is something I developed through lived experience and through closely working with women in these kinds of transitions. It is the structure that underpins all of my work. If you recognize yourself in this, if you feel like you might be in one of these phases, then this is exactly the place the work begins.